Good morning and welcome to my yard. Told you I'd give you a tour of my yard, show you what I'd done with basic tools. So we're going to start here. Where we're going to start is going to be right here in this corner. I'm going to give you a pan of my whole yard and then we'll walk and look. So this is coming out of the front of my house and working my way across. And then we're going to go and take a walk. And I'm going to talk with you a minute. This is my side yard. And my problem is just trying to get stuff where I got water, because I got plenty of property. So let's go back over here while I talk to you. And I want you to keep in mind today, my goal is not to show you that, ooh, I'm a great gardener. It's to show you that you can garden even when you work with very minimal time and at least see some success. Don't worry about all the composting. We can get to that later. Just get out there and do what works for you. This is some kind of purple heart or something that my wife got her first cuttings at a gas station. And then one of her friends gave her a few cuttings. We come over here. That is some more of that. It's actually planted in a pot growing out on the ground. That is that plant there is probably about 3 or 4 years old, I can't remember. But it's 10 to 12 foot wide and over 6 foot tall. The lantana is what it is. Now this purple plant here, beautiful, more of a tropical. We have these scattered everywhere, but they don't get much chance to put on. Usually the deer eat them all. My wife's got some of the purple stuff growing here. Everything you'll see here today, me and her planted with the basic shovel, rake, and cow manure. So that's why I say in the beginning, get out there and put it down. Put down whatever kind of fertilizers you want and insecticides, just to see it grow and get some reward. Don't worry about all the environmental stuff. These were supposed to be a black colored elephant ear that somebody gave my wife. The year before last we planted them over and they were getting too much shade. So it kind of messed them up, but we moved them now. My wife has these cactuses scattered everywhere. You'll see quite a few cactuses. That's some cuttings right there that actually come off of that one. That's a new pineapple we're starting. Bridal wreath. On some of these better ones, I'll show you a little better pan picture. That's a rose of Sharon. It's middle of September here now. The weather's starting to change. This is a little area here. We'll be able to see it better in a minute from another angle. But I'll show you that. This is an aloe plant. It's got some pups coming off of it. It's in full bloom. This is it's African, I can't remember what these are called. One of my coworkers gave them to me. But very surprised to see flowers on them. Generally the deer eat them down so fast they can't flower. This is a loquat tree. Several of these scattered on the property. Got that from a coworker. My wife has a boat full of cactuses, different cactuses, and a pineapple. Let's back up here where you can get a better view. That's a cactus. Now this pineapple, we actually harvested a pineapple off of this year. And now it has another shoot starting to grow another pineapple. That's another aloe. That one so far has never flowered. It puts off pups, but it has never flowered. I'll give you a little better view of what the boat area looks like. That's the boat. Now these elephant ears here, they hadn't been in the ground even a month yet. I put one on each end. I believe these are called mother-in-law's tongue. Some people call them snake plants. They're looking a little rough this year. These here are about 3 years old. Nothing you'll see here is very older than 3 years old. Some of it's 2, most of it's less than a year. But these are 3 years old. This is a piece of cactus my wife planted. Had grandchildren over yesterday, so you'll notice toys everywhere. Different type of lilies. All the lilies you're gonna see here today, the clumps like this style, all come and started from about 15 or 20 that a friend at work gave me. They've just multiplied. That is ginger. Let's see if there's a bulb on this one I can show you. Nope, we'll see when we get around there. I don't remember what these are called. I want to say they're some type of lily that my wife got from somebody. This clump is an African iris. It puts on beautiful flowers. Some more cactuses. That one's got an elephant ear growing amongst it. Some more cactuses. Alright. That's a devil's spine cutting that I made off another plant. And just to kind of show you that row that we just walked through. That's that row. Then we slip over here. Here's our boat area. I skipped an area over here. These are some different type lilies that we've gotten from people. Just a little boat together bed. This elephant ear. And let me show you this. This elephant ear is probably 4 foot tall. All these elephant ears that you see planted in this row were planted about a month and a half ago. That's a kumquat. That's a bell pepper that's underneath that elephant ear. That's a cayenne. They were loaded with peppers yesterday, but my wife and kids picked most of them. That's a sweet banana plant pepper. They picked a bunch of those yesterday, but you can see there's a pepper right there. Like I say, in the beginning, don't try to overcomplicate it, because that's what you're going to do. You're going to be frustrated. Just get in there and grow something. Gives a damn. This is I bought 2 of these elephant ears. I believe they're called Alocasias, or I don't really remember. They are giant. These are at least 6 foot tall right now. This one over here is closer to 7. Give you a back up. Well, here. Now these jasmine that are planted along this, they're starting to grow. They're only a few months old. I built this little walkway for my wife and planted a jasmine on each side. So everything's on the dieback version now. Now these elephant ears, as you'll notice throughout, I got different type. Had some limbs fall in here a day or two ago and damaged some of them, but hey, that's part of it. Each one of these, they're growing in clumps about 3.5 foot tall. I planted 1 elephant ear per hill, 3 hills in each one of these. It being 1 elephant ear, 1 elephant ear, 1 elephant ear. That was the beginning of summer. So you see what they've done. Now half of my yard's on irrigation, half of my yard's on just sprinklers and hoses. But that's what they've done. So, and right now we're still in the front yard. Now this over here is bamboo. I planted it, it didn't do so good in the beginning, but now you can see it has jumped. That's a century plant. I cut pups off of it this year. I put those pups out by the road, I'll show you that. That's a stray bamboo stalk. Got some variegated ginger there. And now this is kind of a pan of what we just walked through right here. Some more lilies around the tree. Now there's an elephant ear you'll see there sticking up in them damaged ones. I had a limb fall. This stuff that's on this banana tree is pretty, but I'm afraid it chokes them out, so I cut it off. That's just a little clump of banana trees right there. Show you what that looks like. Now all these elephant ears that's right here, They're not but about a month and a half old. They come out of the same batch as those that was in the pepper plants that I showed you. Hell, that one's 5 foot over there. These are about 3. You'll see a few plants here and there that's decked in with some color. My wife has to give us some color. And sago palms, several sago palms. All right, here we go. Here's some pine cone. This is what the ginger puts off. They got like a little lotion in them. This is another loquat. Several hanging plants right here. This is just a little swing patio. And you'll notice throughout, probably running in and out of the videos, I have a lot of cats. That's a ginger plant. That ginger plant is well over 6 foot tall. Let's see if I can get back enough along the fence to show you that. No, I can't get it all in there because I can't back up, but so far I got this fence. We planted jasmine. Now that jasmine's 3 years old. This is an elephant ear. I don't think the pictures will do it justice, but the leaves look like silk. You'll notice some hanging plants my wife messes with, spider plants, wandering Jew, couple ferns. This is a split leaf philodendron. Now, this plant is less than a year old. It's older than a year, but when I say less than, I mean been on my property. It's when I purchased it, it was about 1.5 foot high. You'll see there's a patch of ginger here, but here we come over here and there's another philodendron. Now this philodendron, I believe it's a form of the Monstera philodendron. I'm not sure. Anyhow, me and my wife went to a botanical garden this past year and seen one that we really liked growing up a tree and decided we were going to do that. So I don't remember if I bought 4 or 5, but that's what it'll do. If you'll notice, you'll see those little roots coming off. It's starting to run. It'll run and it'll climb this tree. And then you'll have these leaves. That's another loquat tree. That's another one of those that I bought from Esposito. Over here, I don't know if this year it lost its sheen because of I don't know why it lost its sheen, because the other one still does. Now here, these 2 elephant ears, you can see the size difference. Planted less than a couple foot apart, they get the same thing as far as nutrients and water. And one is twice as big as the other, and they come out of the same batch. That is some of the same ginger we planted over here just to see what it does. Not much sun gets over here, but amazingly, it has survived, just hadn't thrived. And they sago palms that I've started all over. Now, this is a philodendron. I believe it's a Monstera. Doesn't do it justice in this picture. This plant here is 3 years old, going on its 3rd year this year. One of the first plants we planted. It's hard to tell it right there, but those leaves are monstrous. And it is really run. Let me show you. This isn't one of the bigger leaves, but it's still big. I have a big old hand. You'll notice it was all in the center, come out of one pot, and it is running. Now here, this is in front of the cook shed that we're putting together. Getting that sitting down, planted all around that oak tree to try to get them to run up it. You see a couple day lilies coming up. When I first brought them lilies home, I planted them all right here around this tree. And then as they started growing and multiplying, I moved them, and that's what made all the other beds. That's a Thai plant of some sort. Go along the minerals we tried. That's another elephant ear. That's a peace lily, I think it's called. It's a 3-year-old plant. It's been in the ground here in North Florida for 3 years. Now these elephant ears I planted beginning of last year. And you can see they are giants. They're coming back up. My wife, she hangs a lot of her hanging baskets, different things around her swing area right there. But show you a row of elephant ears. These first two elephant ears right here, they were about a foot tall when I planted them. I planted them about 3 weeks ago. Now these, one of my wife's co-workers gave her, they've been in the ground about a month and a half, and they're growing. Now, I want to explain something to you. I see a lot of stuff on the internet where people show a leaf that looks like this, and everybody jumps in with all these mosaic virus diseases and stuff. Don't listen to that at the beginning. Don't just get right in there and start cutting your damn plants down. I got plants like this and like this plant right here that'll throw a leaf that looks like that. Most of the time that leaf will die off, new leaves is coming out, and never other leaf will ever look like that on the same plant. So don't just go out there and start cutting your plants down. Don't overcomplicate it in the beginning. Get out there, put some stuff in the dirt with the simple techniques I'm gonna show you. Don't worry about what damage you're doing to the environment with fertilizers and chemicals, because either you're gonna not be interested and figure out pretty quick that this ain't for you with the basic principle that I teach you, and quit gardening, which means you're no longer doing damage to the environment, or you're gonna get into it, see something grow quick, and know that you like it, and then perfect it. And within a couple years, then you will be on there and figuring out all that other stuff and moving on to a healthier form of gardening. So you won't be polluting it. So don't worry about it in the beginning. Use fertilizers, regular fertilizers you buy in the store. It's easy for a working person. And when you have a problem, go get some chemicals. All right, over here, this is my side yard. I got all these banana trees I'm gonna show you from a woman. I started out with about 8 or 10. I can't remember. But they've multiplied. And now to show you the difference, I haven't had to water in the last couple months because of the rain, but before that I did. Those elephant ears right there that ain't hardly a foot and a half high come out the same clumps and was planted the same days as those. Those had irrigation on them. Those had sprinklers during that month. That's the only difference. Here's another century plant. Let me give you a backup view of this before we start walking. This is where the beginning of my yard on this side. My banana trees. If you get a chance to get your hands on some banana trees, get as many as you can, but don't go overboard, because you'll see that's a pup. That's a pup. I mean, they really put on. You pour the water and the fertilizer to them. That's some lilies that all come out of that clump that I separated. Now, elephant ears, this variety of elephant ears, I planted the original one 2 years ago. One plant right in the center. Last year it put on 1 or 2 more plants. This year, them elephant ears stand taller than 6 foot and cover an area of almost 8 foot in diameter. I mean, just massive. This is another one of those stand-up elephant ears. It's been there about 2 years. Hadn't really done as good as some of the others that I've seen. But like I say, that one up until this year didn't do that great. Clumps of elephant ears everywhere. You'll notice the different varieties. I put the smaller, round, compact ones in between my banana trees. And then I've come out in front of my banana trees and planted some elephant ears, bigger elephant ears. They're trying to kick off. There's some more daylilies. I'll show you. I told you I separated them century pups. I'm making some beds outside my fence with sago palms going down it, with a century plant in between every sago palms, and then a row of elephant ears behind them. That ought to look real good once it gets kicked off and gets a couple years behind it. Now, here in North Florida, these banana trees will die, my lilies will die, my elephant ears will die, but every summer they come right back and get bigger and stronger. So don't get carried away in what you can or can't do by getting over worried about what you're reading on the internet, because you can get out there with some simple tools. Palms, I planted a few palms last year. This one seems to be doing the best, and they're different varieties. This one has really grown. That one was planted right at the end of last year. This is a type of palm. Some of this stuff, I don't remember the variety names. My fig tree. But that's not why I garden. I garden so that I can enjoy seeing my stuff grow. This is a bulb that we bought, just a bare bulb at Esposito's. It's in its 3rd year. It's not getting very big, but something it has done. And I think why it may not be getting very big is it's multiplying. That's 3 there now, and we planted 1. I probably should have already separated those. I probably will at the beginning of next year. If you want them to grow big, try to keep the pups cut from around them. Now these elephant ears here, they've been in the ground. They was about 6-8 inches tall when I planted them. They've been in the ground about a month and a half. Now these are bromeliads. We purposely separated these out like this. They do better in a pot or on a piece of tree bark, something like that. We didn't have the luxury at the time. My wife's grandmother died and we had to get them. So, anyhow. These, I forget what they're called, they put on a big purple flower. Normally they look good. I had a pine tree limb fall on them, but I hadn't checked on them in a couple of days. My wife found it. You'll notice we've tried to do roses. The deer just eat them back. They can't get a start. We got some more lilies. About all the pine trees have some form of lily planted around them. That's an oleander. Got a couple of those on the property. That's a big elephant ear. It's about just at 6 foot. And some baby elephant ears. These has all been planted within the last year. Even them babies are monsters. Now, and to show you what elephant ears will do, originally I planted 1 elephant ear here, and that's it, that monster right there in the center. These offshoots way over here, you see the distance, there's 3 or 4 growing right there, come underground from this one. So, and to show you why, I'll tell you a lot of times in here, give a plant 2 years. That's a redbud tree. Back up where you can see it. It's over 12 foot tall, now covers a span with all of its limbs of over 20 foot. We planted that year before last, at the end of the year. All the leaves fell off of it. My wife wanted to dig it up. Last year, it didn't hardly do anything. It was less than 2 foot tall. My wife wanted to dig it up. I wouldn't let her. All this growth you've seen has been in the 3rd year. It has jumped. So don't just give up on something. I like to plant something and let it get through that season, no matter what it does, and give it 1 more season. If that 2nd season it don't do anything, the 3rd season I dig it up. Bottle brush trees. These 2 were planted this year. They hadn't done a whole lot, but I think that's because I got peppers around them. It's absorbing a lot of the stuff. They will come on. Don't know if that's what these are called or not, but somebody that looked at them, because I hadn't had a flower on them yet, told me they were called amarillos. This is a bottle brush tree. It's about 10 foot high. Needs to be pruned a little bit. I haven't done it. You can see it is putting on the flowers. So, that's a bird of paradise that we inherited. You gotta find somewhere to put it. Elephant ears are everywhere. So you can get used to seeing those. Got them scattered. That's some of them bromeliads in a pot. That's another kumquat tree. You'll notice fence out here around some stuff. You have to keep the deer off of it. Do I have insect problems? Yes, I do. I spray them with chemicals. I'm like you, I'm learning. Let's stop here at the little bench. You see I got it outlined with lilies. Those lilies was all planted last year at the beginning of the season. That's a guava. If you know what guava jelly is, that's what produces the berry that you eat it off of. This is a pup off of those ones over there that had the silky leaves that I told you I got from Esposito. Some more ginger where we separated it. Now this palm, it'll have 3 trunks coming up. Seen one of these at a motel. We stayed at wanted one ever since. This is just a little patio we got. You want to get away from everybody if we're having a cookout and have your own damn fire. Usually just keep a few dry limbs stacked up right there. Wife's got a couple potted plants on each side. This is another split leaf. This split leaf was planted at the same time as that one you've seen over there. They both in shade, but this one has not flourished as well, even though it has done great, not as well. The purple plant flowers that were over there that I told you the deer eat, this is the original first two plants. They never get a chance to get up. You can see how the deer has just nipped them off. This is a devil spine plant. I got this from a co-worker. I've took several cuttings. It's made it through one winter so far. So, these are birds of paradise. I actually planted these last year at the beginning of the year. They have not produced a flower yet, but they did survive the cold last year. This palm, I forget what it's called. It was bought when my wife's grandmother died. Nobody ended up doing nothing with it. We brought it home last year, stuck it in the ground. It did survive the winter, but it really kicked it back. Really kicked it back. These are some cuttings that my wife got from her grandma's house. Once again, they were in the ground for 2 years. Barely had leaves on them. We were prepared this year to cut them up and dig them up. We got busy doing other stuff and didn't have time. You see what they've turned into. So you got to have patience. This is a grapefruit tree. These are some more cuttings that I had to separate off of another lily, another top palm. And of course, that's our flagpole. Good old American flag. Now this, I believe my wife told me, is called a camellia tree. This tree's been in our ground about 3 years. It's had buds all over it this year. Those are all the dried buds. There's a flower that's starting to die back. Got several oleander trees, more lilies, oleander tree. So hollowed out stump, last year did well. It just had a pothos growing out of it. This year the deers found it, it hadn't done shit. This is just a little bed that we have. These, I don't know what the technical name is. There's a few lilies around the edges, but I call them Spanish bayonets. Those come out of the woods. They're planted throughout this bed. We dug those out of the woods. That is another type of palm. Now this over here is called an umbrella plant. I'll show you what it looks like up close. And then we'll back up from it. When we first got that, it was a little clump of 8 or 10 little stalks coming out. Now, these right here, I'm gonna show you something else, and they look a little rough this year. They need spraying, and I hadn't had time. These are crepe myrtles. You'll see that I got 3 of those here. There was originally 4, but these were pulled up out of my wife's grandma's yard and laid out by the road for over a week and a half. We got them, brought them home, put them in the dirt. Last year they did nothing. Wife wanted to cut them down. This year, they're thriving. So you just got to have patience. There's 2 things with this trade that are non-negotiable. A lot of other stuff you can do different, but you got to develop patience and you got to have water. These are some cuttings. They're not cuttings, but we separated these off of them original Esposito plant. I had to separate it last year, and so that's what all them different ones come off of. This looks a little rough. We just haven't had time this year to mess with it. But normally this is a kayak we found with a hole in it. We usually plant a succulent plant bed in this and then cover it with white sand. We just have not had time this year to redo it and clean it out. The succulents are there. They're just hidden and overgrown and suffering. Hopefully next year we'll be able to get that done. Get something done with that. There's some fruit trees out here. I learned about the deer. I've tried everything to keep them all. They've eaten these till they've just stunted them down. This year at the beginning I finally put some wire around them. I don't think they're going to come out of it as well as I thought they would from the deer keeping them stunted down the last 2 years. So now that I know that that wire does work, next year I'm going to dig these fruit trees up and I'm gonna replace them with some new fruit trees. And that way I know now I got some healthy. Where these stakes are, same problem. I planted grapevines. They tried and tried to grow. The deer just wouldn't let them. So I'm gonna have to come back and put something around them before I can plant them again. And that's pretty much my yard, just to give you a pan from a distance. So that's pretty much a pan of my yard. So my goal is to enjoy my yard, enjoy getting out here. There's days I come out here just to look and go and get into something and decide, well, it's time I can prune that. I ain't got nothing to do. There's times I come out here and walk and don't feel like doing nothing. You ain't got to have all that fancy stuff to get started. That's my point. Number one, gardening and planting should be about enjoyment. Number two, start basic. You can learn as you go. Don't get on there and overload yourself. I'm gonna show you just a simple basic techniques. I work 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. So it's something that can be done, you know. Don't let yourself, look at these. They're in their ends right now. They're fixing to fall off, but these were beautiful back about a month ago. They're still pretty. But some very basic techniques. Because if you get in there and you start going over all that compost and trying to be organic all at one time, you're working yourself to death with no results. And that is not what you want. You want to see some results, some rewards. We're human beings. We like to be rewarded for our work. That's that oleander. So just take these techniques I'm going to show you if you're in zone 8B area or the like of it, and it'll work. Some simple black cow, some basic hand tools. Most of the time I got a cold beer in my hand with Jimmy Buffett playing in the background. Don't overcomplicate it in the beginning. So follow along with me, and as we go, I'm gonna plant some fall vegetable plants right here in the next few weeks. I'll show you just some simple techniques. But you got to have water, period. And you got to have patience. Thank y'all for joining me, and I look forward to doing a lot more videos with you. I'm glad y'all followed along today. Thank you.